Hello, I'm here to talk to you about example problem 7, the basketball tickets program. And so to date, as we grow, this very well may be the biggest program that we have created, specifically on it using a lot of different private subs. And so it's a program that is going to have a lot of different controls on the form, and a lot of the controls will have a line or two of code. I know the enter button is going to be pretty lengthy, but same time, I classify this as a simple sequence control structure program because the enter button will have not one if, but two ifs. The program will go through two ifs to make tests on the form. Okay, so real quick, this is where you can find the example problem 7 on the web resource in the notes. We're going to be going to notes. This module 3 only has 2 example problems, 6 and 7, and we're going on to 7. Followed by, when you're done, you're going to have a Word document that you're going to convert to PDF, and just call that Word document example number 7. You'll have a form, you'll have the code, and then you'll have the flow chart created part of this. So I'm expecting about 3 different images. So I'm going to flop over to the web resource. I'm in module number 3 right now, looking for example problem 7. I see it right here in the notes. So I'm going to right click and open new. Okay, so like we've done before, we start with building it with putting controls on the form, and this is an application that I'm rolling out approximately 4 new controls in here. You can see the LinkLabel Control, and that's going to be pretty cool because during runtime, if you click on it, it'll open up a web address, which I'm looking for you guys to capture, Battlefield High School web address. Check boxes, these are little tiny checks, but when you check on it, it gives you a check. It's like an on and off switch. It gives you a value of a 1 if it's checked. If it's not checked, then it'll have the value of 0. So you got to understand the back end of these controls. They house some sort of functions that align with themselves. So during runtime, if the checkbox is checked, it'll be defined as number 1. Unchecked, it'll be defined as a 0. Okay, moving on, radio buttons. Okay, and then these radio buttons, understand that it can apply some code in there with regards to if it's checked. Let's give the person a $1 fee. There's the next one checked. Let's give the person a $2 fee. Okay, so you may have seen radio buttons on websites a lot of times in terms of options, and you can only really select one of them. So if there's 3 options, generally you can only choose one, like a multiple choice type of test. Okay, so group box is going to wrap those radio buttons together. All right, and so we then get down in the build. Okay, so you can see this example problem 7. It's going in procedures of step 1 being the build, and you can see it's putting a group box, then it's putting the 3 radio buttons, more 2 check boxes. We have a label 2 and 3 and 2 different text boxes right here. And then we're processing 3 on step 6 of the build. We see button 1, 2, 3, another label, a link label, and then label 4. So if I pause for a second, your final outcome after changing the properties will look something like this in the notes. Now I'm going to flop over to the Visual Basic program that I have already opened up. I'm not going to go with how to save a document. I've already saved it into the module 3 folder. So real quick, to give you heads up, you're going to load up a blank Visual Basic program. You're going to save as, get yourself into module 3. Make sure in your module 3, save it as example problem 7, okay? Pertinent to this example problem 7. This is our 7th example problem. So as you can see here, getting with these controls, the radio buttons right here, okay? You see 3 radio buttons in here, but you're going to have to put a group box in here first. And a group box is housed in the window form. So if I come down here and find group box, Note the group box can be found on the window form. So I'm just, that houses all the forms. So I'm dragging the group box on there. Radio button checkbox is then back on the common controls. You can see the checkbox being right here. And then the other controls should be elementary because you've used them already. We have three or four labels, 2 text boxes, 3 buttons, and a link label. And the link label, yes. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, that can be found right here. And this is going to be a hyperlink that during runtime, when we program it can launch the Battlefield High School web address or something. So 4 new controls here: group box, radio buttons, checkbox, and the link label. And I'm now moving on to step 2, changing each of the control properties. As you look, I have a statement here. Just focus right now on the TXT, the text property, okay? And you might have to pause this video or look at the notes. There's a lot of controls on here. I mean, you're doing your best to imitate it, but if you have your controls nested a little bit different, that's fine. I would say start with the ticket holder and then move your way clockwise, just trying to rename the text property of each of the controls on this form. All right, and then going to move forward. And now, with that said, going to talk about the properties a little bit and go back to the making sure you go back to the properties and change the name of the properties a little bit. Now I'm going to be jumping ahead and looking at that a little bit. So, for example, the student, teacher, and parent, that's going to be called radio button 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can notice over here what a good name for the radio button should be for the name. RAD, radio student, and so that should be showing up RAD student. So up here, when you click on the student, the name property should very be RAD student, and then the RAD teacher and RAD parent as those 3. We get on down with the checkboxes. Then dealing with the checkboxes, notice what I have for the checkboxes: CHK girls ticket and CHK boys ticket. And so those should be reading up in rename in terms of trying to successfully rename those properties. So the proceeding on, the first thing I want to discuss with you, even to make something global, and I do talk about the global variable here, is we want to use discount, and we're defining discount as a decimal, but that's not going to be located anywhere inside any private sub. All right, so if I go to the Visual Basic program, and you can see right now, here's again another visual of the form with all the properties being renamed. But if I flop over the code real quick, and I just want to highlight something at the very top here. All right, after you get the flyer box generated in, please make an effort that we're going to be starting with a global variable of discount, because discount will be used within the radio buttons to either give a 50% discount, no discount, free, like a student gets in free to the basketball game, and a discount equal 1, whatever the value is going to be times by 1. So for discount, we don't have to declare those variables inside the sub. If we call it a global variable and put discount outside of the private subs, it then can be used in any private sub moving forward. So please understand with this is as we move into the code and you start working with the code, I believe the first line that you're going to be working with should be dim discount. Okay, so once you declare that, you can go up and double click on each of those: student, teacher, and parent, one at a time. And you can just bear with me for a second. You can see if you double click student, double click teacher, okay, they should be coming up of RAD student, RAD teacher, and RAD parent, just like I said. But notice the one line I'm putting in there. So okay, so if you're a student, you may get 50% off the ticket. If you're a teacher, I guess you may potentially get in free to the game, and that's the discount. The discount is equal to 0. If you wanted 1 ticket and then you took discount 0 times a $1 ticket, it's still going to be 0. Whereas 50 cents would be the discount 0.5 times 0.5 times a ticket is going to be 50 cents. So discount for the parent is going to be weighted as the value of the ticket. All right. So these three radio buttons is basically housing what the discount is going to be, or what the pricing is going to be, and who you are, and it's kind of syncing that up together. All right. So we're starting with trying to establish a discount, moving forward and giving each of the areas a value of the discount, and it's the beauty of it. It's global. Okay. It's a global variable. Okay. Then we're moving on to the enter button. So if I come back to the Visual Basic program for a second, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Once you get the discount entered in for the radio button, we're then going into the enter button to process the code for those the big meat of it. All right. So let me just try to quickly review what's going on here. We have inside button 1, which should be BTN enter. Okay, BTN enter. I just have a button 1. We have a dim statement that is defining the girls ticket, the boys ticket, and then total. We're using three we're using three variables here, all being defined as decimal. Okay, so with the first checkbox, which should be called CHK girls ticket, all right, we have a formula here that if that person has chosen a checkbox, what do you mean, Mr. Proctor, the checkbox? If I go back to this program during runtime, if this checkbox of the girl is checked, then that's going to follow the true path. All right. So long story short is we're denoting the girl's ticket equals to 1. If that is true, we're then doing the math of that ticket though. We're the total number of tickets times the discount times 4, and notice the brackets. So the discount times 4 will be processed before the number of tickets. All right. If this person did not check the girl's game, therefore the girl's value would be 0. We're not going to charge you a girl's ticket if you're not going to check that checkbox. Proceeding on then, all right, it's the same pattern, but with the boys. Okay, going to the program code, we're now going to be having an if statement based on this checkbox for the boys. Okay, so if I go back to the code, and that's kind of checkbox 2, but it's renamed as CHK boys ticket. If the boys ticket, and this is the variable that we're using up here, boys ticket, the number of tickets times discount times 6. Now we're giving a little bit more value for the boys game. Okay, $2 more than 4. All right, so understand that the discount will be processed first in this scenario. Okay, followed by the number of tickets. And again, if they didn't choose the boys ticket, then the boys ticket then is equal to 0. Okay, then all we're doing here, and then we have 2 processing steps. We're adding the number of girls tickets and the number of boys tickets, which should be a value that the cost of them would then be total. So actually one could be 0 because they didn't choose a girls ticket, and the value for the boys ticket is evident there. Okay, so we then will have an output, and the second text box, which should be the total output, txt total, will then output that total of that price. Okay, so understand that the discount is used to identify the student and the price of it, and it's used down below. And you can see discount then will be housed as some sort of a value based on having the radio button checked first. Okay, so then it's this matter of cleaning it up, ladies and gentlemen. Here's an example of some of the clear code. Here's an example of the exit button. Proceeding on now to the link label. Okay. All right, so the properties of the link label, understand that I'm not giving you the Battlefield High School web address, okay? If I simply go over to, for example, the code and click on the code of the Visual Basic program, and I got to find the code. Okay, here it is. Right here, I've actually put in Battlefield's web address, okay? So you can just Google Battlefield High School, it populates up or something, copy the URL address and put it into quotes. So during runtime, ladies and gentlemen, if you click on this link right here during runtime, that'll load up a browser to Battlefield High School. So it could be anything, but I'm basically using a generic Battlefield link to that. So I think that will complete the code aspects. I'm going to jump to the flow chart next, but you should have a solid code that if I run over to my end of the code, you're going to have a link label code. You're going to have a button 1, which is the enter button. You're going to have the radio buttons. You're going to have the clear button. You're going to have the exit button in terms of working through this activity. Make sure you put the flower box and fill out the flower box for this code. Hello. Again, once you get the program running, try to make a couple tests with the form. Maybe choose, student and girls and boys. So and hit enter. So give me 2 or 3 different snapshot of the form during runtime. So you're testing out and do the calculations yourself. The girls' tickets are $4. The boys' tickets are $6. Maybe do a test of a student, do a test of a teacher, and do a test of a parent. Whether you want to choose 1 or 2 checkboxes or not, just do your best. And then you're taking snapshots, putting those in a Word document, and then moving on to snapshotting the code. I'm in full compliant now that sometimes you may have to do two screenshots of the code. Where you may have the flower box and maybe the radio buttons in one snapshot, and then starting with the next private sub snapshot of the next. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to show you that. You can see this right now. I can't see all the code. I can't see all the code in one single snapshot. So I want to try to keep some of this stuff together. So for example, I may snapshot the form and the label in one, scroll down and do another snapshot of, and make sure you give the numbers with this, okay? In terms of identifying what number you're on, so to speak, okay? So you're capturing those numbers within the bucket of private subs. So once you got maybe the code in there, you're going to move on to the flow chart. Okay, and so I'm doing the flow chart on the back end with you, so you can obviously identify the flow of a program flow chart. Now, I'm not looking for you guys to write the system flow chart. I'm not asking you guys to write the studio code, just the program flow chart. So I've given that to you right here at the tail end, and if I'm going to right click and let's say open a new window so I can make this a little larger for you guys, and you guys can too, and I can go down through this. So we have a start button. We have read. An input is D. What is D? Discount. Okay. Then there's inputs, which are going to be 3 of them, either student, teacher, or parent. Okay. Then there's GG stands for girls game. BG stands for boys game. And then NT stands for number of tickets. Okay. So I really have four major inputs that are factoring, making this program work effectively. So we have a test that's going on right here that is then identifying the girls game is equal to 1. Remember the checkbox are either 1 or 0. Okay, so I'm just saying 1. I could have very well done a check if the girls game is checked, like drawing a check, but let's just stick with the back end as 1, because if you are choosing a girls game, that's going to have a denominator of 1. So if that's true, look, girls ticket equals the number of tickets times D decimal times 4 parentheses. Notice the D and 4 is in parentheses. That then at that point, girls ticket should have some value. If the girls game was not selected, then the girls ticket would be 0 because you didn't buy any, and that's what I'm having. Girls ticket is equal to 0. Okay, then the connector comes back down again, and then we have another decision symbol. So my question, or if statement, my question to you, what do you think should go in there? Okay, modeling the first if then else structure. Go back and look at the code. Okay, that you already written. Okay, so I think it's going to be very similar to this, what you see up above here. Okay, so if that's a true statement, dealing with the checkbox, look here. Boys ticket equals number of tickets times parentheses discount times 6. Okay, so you're getting a multiplication of the formula that will factor the person's cost of a boys basketball ticket. Okay, if that is a false statement, look, the boys ticket is equal to 0. There's no cost in it whatsoever. You didn't buy any, right? Then you're just adding. You're adding those statements up above here. You're either going to add the boys ticket with the girls ticket. Okay, so you could be going to both games, and you could be buying multiple tickets. Okay, so identify that as T. Notice at the bottom I didn't have room for the start to be right below it, and I just subtly made it to the stop to be below it. I just made a subtle change to move stop to the right hand side, but we're outputting the total. That's basically what we're doing. We're outputting the total in a format of a toString to have currency, and then the program is stopping. So here's a model of the flow chart that would go along with this program.